Hey guys, installment 3 on my 1988 Mazda 323 GTX Resurrection. In this video, I wanted to walk you through if you wanted to make a cold air intake for your car, what's involved. It's pretty simple and fairly inexpensive as well, and I thought I would spend a few minutes and show you how to do that. I've done this 3 times now, so it's fairly straightforward, and each time gets a little bit faster. But anyway, here is the factory airbox. As you can see right here, it's a fairly stout unit, pretty heavy, but of course it's designed for all kinds of climates and conditions, so fairly well designed to insulate the engine from, you know, moisture and dust and everything else, to get, and also I guess to get some pretty good airflow into the engine. Now on the stock airbox, the coil is located right here, and so that's going to have to be relocated. Of course, this is your airflow meter, and what I did on my car is I relocated the coil to adjacent to the main engine relay box. And what I did is I made this aluminum bracket here, fairly straightforward, and I'll get this wire out of the way. Yeah, so fairly straightforward, and again, it's aluminum, it's very strong, and it actually bolts to the factory steel bracket that holds the relay to the strut housing here. So fairly straightforward. It's basically a C shape, so you have some options there to relocate your coil, and for me this was the simplest and worked out really well in terms of still being able to use the original distributor plug wire to the coil. So that worked out quite well. And then for the actual cold air intake, all it is, it's a 3-inch elbow, which you can get these very inexpensive on eBay, and then of course a couple hose clamps, and the best K&N filter, which you can see down there, and it gets cold air, as you can see right behind the headlight. The K&N filter that works the best for our cars is this one here, which is RU2430, and you can get one of those for about 45 bucks. And the other thing you're going to need is an adapter that goes from the airflow meter to the silicone coupling, and these are fairly inexpensive. They're about $10-12 again on online, eBay, Amazon. And this is the same as what's used on any 80s BMW, like an E30, E28. So if you just do that search, this will bolt up 100% to your airflow meter. And what I did on mine is they come a little bit larger, and I just trimmed the edges. Here are the 4 edges that I trimmed off that adapter, the aluminum adapter, just to make it look a little bit neater. And it, as you can see, I just trimmed these edges here, as you can see right here. Those are the 4 edges, and then it bolts right up to the AFM. And then lastly, just to support the elbow and the K&N filter, I made a bracket out of aluminum right here that mounts to one of the existing screw holes on the inner fender. Again, this was fairly straightforward, and I did a little cutout here for this relay. That way it doesn't scratch it or damage it, as there's a bit of vibration. And then I had my good friend Blake, who's a very talented fabricator. I had him TIG weld it for me. Of course, if you don't have somebody that can TIG weld it, you can always braze it as well, or maybe even rivet it on as an option. And I actually made this bracket out of a piece of cardboard right here. So you can see my cardboard. Here's my cardboard version. So I make everything out of cardboard before finalizing it in aluminum. So that was that. So fairly straightforward. It only took a few hours, and it's nice and neat. It makes accessibility much better. And then of course you don't have to worry about some of the brackets under here that you can lose. You don't have to use any further, any longer, that supports the factory air box. So you got lots of air coming in from under the engine to keep it cool, and kind of neatens everything up, and it probably improves performance a bit as well, because you have a colder air and a lot more surface as well. So that's the airflow meter. I've seen guys actually just buy this adapter for the AFM and stick a K&N filter on it, but some of those K&N filters are so large it conflicts with your expansion tank overflow radiator bottle, so you end up having to relocate this. So this way you can keep the radiator bottle in the stock position, and kind of just push that K&N filter down into the corner bucket behind the headlight, which is kind of neat. So that's the cold air intake, and you can see on this car the engine started to come together. What's pretty cool is this car actually has a brass radiator from the factory, and I decided to remove all the black paint from it and expose the brass, because I think it looks so cool. It just means I need to keep polishing, otherwise the brass will tarnish. But you can see that's the factory brass. Can't believe in 1988 they were still using brass radiators. Anyway, lots of powder coating. You can see I powder coated the radiator support brackets as well, and then I made these rubber bumpers always crack and deteriorate over time. So I made these ones out of polyurethane, out of a set of spare bushings I had laying around in my garage, and they worked actually really well. So the radiator is nice and secure. Other than that, let's see, there's a bit more powder coating you can see here on the valve cover, and then the pipe up to the intake manifold, and then the blow-off valve pipe as well. Went a little cheeky there on the oil cap, and yeah, anyway, it's coming together. So the engine looks a lot more presentable, a lot nicer, and we're making some good progress on the car. You can see I'm also starting to clean it up as well. You can see I'm a big fan of Meguiar's products, and you can see I've been starting to use the Meguiar's here to get all the crud off the underside of the hood here. Here's the one side, and you can see here's the right side that was what I was working with before I started cleaning it. So big difference there. Same with the fender. You can see the fender is starting to at least look half decent, and there you can see what it looks like. So we're making some progress on the car. I'll take you underneath the car and I'll show you some progress I've made on some paint underneath the car and detail work. So you can see here is the central cross member that supports the engine, and that's all been powder coated and all brand new grade 8.8 and 10.9 fasteners. And I painted the radiator support and powder coated the tow hooks, and then painted the corners there. Here's the intercooler brackets, it's all been painted, and then of course I cleaned and painted the radiator as well. All right, so anyway, so it's coming together. You can see the wheel wells, I've painted those as well, and underneath the strut towers. And let's see. Okay, here are the control arms. I powder coated those and installed brand new white line bushings in them. And here are the wheel wells, all painted. New outer tie rod ends. And then if you go to the rear of the car, similar work that I did there as well. Here are the rear inner wheel wells, and you can see where the struts bolt to. That's all been painted. And here's the rear diff cross member, and that's all been painted. And I went through and replaced all the fasteners with all brand new grade 8.8 and 10.9 yellow zinc. Painted under the spare tire well. And here's the rear support and bracket member support. There's the diff, and then also painted up under the floors. So I'm making some progress on the car. It's been a bit slow, but it's getting there. And over the next few weeks I'll be putting the suspension and brakes back in the car, and I'll show you the suspension that I'm putting on the car. This is a very old set of KYB Dirtras. The housings are anyway, and I had these threaded collars from another project, and these work really well with these Dirtras. So these were some used threaded collars I had, and they work perfectly with the strut housings. And if you're going to rebuild a set of these guys, if you happen to have a set of these old coilovers, here are the part numbers you're going to need for the front and rear. So these are the rear. Hope that helps. And for the front, there you go. And these all KYB XLGs. Another thing is, if you're going to rebuild these coilovers, if you happen to have a set or come across a set, these have been powder coated, so they look pretty good, but they were very rusty and in really rough shape when I got them, and I've had them for quite a few years now. A couple of things is, make sure you sandblast the inside of these housings, and then I spray this crown rust inhibitor on the inside of those housings, because it does rust inside here. And then I also coat the struts as well. And then on these nuts, the securing nuts, make sure you use generous amounts of anti-seize on the threads, and take your time and thread them in so you don't cross thread them as you tighten them in. On the fronts, you have to use a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch spacer at the bottom, otherwise the struts are just a little too short. So I used some polyurethane spacers that I had, cut them down and put them at the bottom here to fill the gap. Otherwise it will clunk inside the housing, because the housing's a bit too big and the strut's a bit too short. Otherwise, those are the struts. It's coming together, and the springs I'm using are 2.5 inch diameter eye blocks, and I'm using a 225 rating in the front and a 175 in the rear. So I'll give that a shot and see how the car feels. I don't want it too stiff because I'm going to drive the car. It's going to be a street driven car, and so that's the suspension, and it's coming together. And there's not a lot of suspension options for these cars, unless you pay the premium and want to buy a set of brand new coilovers, which are fortunately still available. So I'm trying to keep the cost down on this GTX, so trying to save some money where I can, and that's why I decided to refurbish these set of coilovers instead of buying a brand new set. So hope that helps. And and then on my next video I'm going to show you what I did for the rear bushings and some things that I'm working on to make the rear bushings replace the rear bushings on this car, because you can't get bushings anymore, so I'm having to get a bit creative, but I'll walk you through that on my next video. So hope all is good, and hope this video is helpful for anybody, and hope everybody's doing well, and hope you're enjoying your GTX. See you in the next one. Bye.